Hello there. It is reported that the government is taking legal advice that could allow Boris to stay on in number 10 and force a general election even if he falls to a vote of no confidence and a caretaker PM is identified by a vote of MPs. Now, before I get into the main subject, just to let you know that the Court of Session in Edinburgh has decided that an order to force the Prime Minister Boris Johnson to comply with the Benn Surrender Act is not yet necessary. The court has decided to wait until the 21st of October to see if it needs to issue such an order then. Now, it's become obvious that the current set of mostly Remainer MPs in the House of Commons, as well as the official opposition, are running scared of a general election for fear of being thoroughly trounced by a Boris backlash vote. But they are instead looking at ways of commandeering the House so as to push through their preferred option of having a second EU referendum prior to letting the public loose in a general election. And one way of doing this would be to have a vote of no confidence in the Boris Johnson government, get him removed by the Queen if he refuses to resign, and install someone else to run a government that would then work towards that referendum. And this possibility is being looked at because of the Fixed Term Parliament Act, which says that an early general election can only be called 14 days after an unresolved vote of no confidence in the government, or if 434 or more MPs vote for one. Now, before the Fixed Term Parliament Act, if the Prime Minister lost a vote of no confidence, they could make the instant decision to either resign or ask the monarch to dissolve Parliament for a general election. But the monarch could deny that request for a general election if the conditions in what are called the Lascelles principles were met. That meant that if the current Parliament is vital, viable and capable of doing its job, and a general election would be detrimental to the national economy, and the monarch could rely on finding another Prime Minister who could govern for a reasonable period with a working majority in the House of Commons, then dissolution for a general election would have been denied. Now, it had been thought that the Fixed Term Parliament Act had done away with these principles, but the government is said to be taking advice on using them in a reverse manner, so that he can stay in number 10 throughout the full 14 days of the no confidence period, so forcing a general election. One therefore assumes Boris would be saying to Her Majesty something along the lines of, "Well, they've decided to vote me down in a vote of no confidence, but here's the reasons I must stay on. Number 1, it would be obvious to a toad that this Parliament is not vital, viable and capable of doing its job, so it should be replaced at the earliest opportunity by a general election. Number 2, it would be highly detrimental to the national economy to keep this current Parliament in place for 1 second longer. And number 3, even though MPs have found someone to vote confidence in, I can't recommend them to you to replace me, as I don't think they would be able to keep it together long enough to govern for a reasonable period with a working majority in the House of Commons. Therefore, I should stay as PM for the remainder of the 14 days to force the new essential general election." It all sounds quite straightforward and sensible, really, doesn't it? But this would, of course, be advice from a Brexiteer Prime Minister to the Queen. And you know where I'm going to go with that one, don't you? Yes, that's right. Just like the 5-week prorogation case, you can see it going straight to the Court of Session and the High Court, then on to Lady Hale and her fellow Supreme Court judges, can't you? And I'll leave the rest to your imaginations. Anyway, what do you think? Please share and comment, and thank you for watching. Please do like and share this video, and also subscribe to my channel. And when subscribing, please do remember to press on the little bell next to the subscribe button. That way you'll get an alert every single time I put up a new video. And thank you very much for watching.